Hey everybody, my name is Michael Whittaker, and in this video, we're going to talk about how to get started scoring a scene. You know, if you're just beginning and you get a scene, especially if it's like action or, there's a lot of things going on, it can be really confusing about where do I even start? What do I write? And I remember for me, my first TV show was the Power Rangers, and it was constant fight scenes, constantly things changing, nonstop music. So I had to learn to adapt and be able to transition from moment to moment. So I'm going to give you some techniques today that are going to set up your DAW so that you will have a good handle on how to transition from moment to moment, and it will be less confusing about what to write. All right, so smash that like and subscribe button, and let's get into it. All right, so I'm using Cubase, but this will work in just about any DAW that you have for the most part. Cubase has a couple of really cool features, though, that other DAWs don't have. But let's start up here. First of all, in Cubase, I have my template, right? So I have all my instruments ready to go. So we're not going to go into that in this video, but it's very important that you're ready to write with a template that's been set up to sound right, and you have all the libraries and that sort of stuff. And I've imported my video so that I am ready to watch my video when I hit play, right?
Okay, so we tried it your way.
So the first thing that is you have to do is set up markers. Markers are going to be your friend, especially when you're just starting out trying to remember this. I have 2 marker tracks, and you can have even more than that depending on what DAW you have. But there's 2 things I really like to do. Number one, I'm going to go through this scene and I'm going to find the critical moments that that an emotion changes, and I'm going to make a marker. But not only a marker track, I use the arranger track in Cubase to write underneath it. As you can see here, this is, hopefully you can see that, this is the arranger track. And the arranger track allows you to write and arrange your, normally it's in pop music, you can call it verse, chorus, whatever, but in film scoring, this is kind of a hidden gem of Cubase. I like to write what's going on. So let's take a look here. And
Okay.
So they're trapped in a cage, and that's my first marker, and I wrote that there. By the way, all my markers are all, I can hit a button and add a marker. Markers, you're going to add a lot of them, so learn the quick key to that, all right? So in the next marker, or the arranger track, or if you had 2 marker tracks, I want you to write what the energy is. What is going on? So what are the characters thinking? What are they, how fast is the scene moving? Are they running? Are they talking? Is there dialogue? What is the overall emotion of what's happening? Okay. So at this point, I wrote in nervous energy, medium movement. All right. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, after you do this, you're going to have to make music, right? So these are references for you to help you really hone in on what the character's doing. So that means nervous energy, we would then explore what chords will create this. In our course, we break down harmony in a way that relates to emotions. And I even have some other videos on YouTube that will help you do that as well. But this is a nervous energy.
So we tried it your way. Now we try
dialogue, so it can't be too much going on, right? So that's why I kind of wrote this undertone here.
Okay, so we tried it your way. Now we try it not.
Wait, what?
And notice this build through this scene. They're about to break out. So that's my second marker here.
What's your where?
They break out, so there's got to be a build, and there is a falling, like they're falling off the bridge, right? So then that's going to say, how would we write falling music? Is the music going to go upwards or downwards? Do we need to create a run? Do we need to create a swell? And then notice the little fox hits it fine. but he crashes here, and that's got to be funny, right? So we need, whenever you're writing kids music, especially, like, the more funny you can make it, the better, right? Even us grown-up kids like funny. And then at the end of this,
Sorry.
there's a funny exit. Notice his feet. His feet are going, and so I wanted to create something that would emulate his feet. And then also we have a guy here at the end that's looking like, what just happened? So I have this being falling, high energy, going to clumsy land, going to funny exit. And this is what we do. So falling's going to be, we don't have time to talk about all the harmony in it, but so we have a run.
Sorry.
And notice his feet are the xylophone that go. This is funnier. And then because it was a pig and he was kind of porky and portly, I used a trombone for that.
Sorry.
And notice when we have a transition to something else, it's really important that you write into the transition. So we have a marker here that says escape running high energy, right? So instead of just writing right on the cut, pre-write something, or maybe a cymbal swell, or in this case, I think I used a snare. So that pulls us into the next scene. And then, of course, we're in China, and so I used a pentatonic scale with a typical Asian motif.
You can't run away from the law.
Notice, like, it's higher energy because now they're running. One thing that you can take away from this video is, and I tell my students all the time, is that if there was a pedal going on this scene and we were to be like right here,
Sorry.
like the pedal would start rolling, getting faster, faster, faster. And here they're running, so now we're pedaling
Can't run
really
away
fast.
from the law. You're one
And
criminal.
now they stop running, so the pedals got to go slower. And a lot of times we need our music, without sounding cheesy, to emulate that energy, the change of energy, right?
You can't run away from the law. You're a wanted criminal. Yeah, well, it looks like.
And oftentimes the chords we pick too, we have major and minor, that if you're coming out of a pop background, major and minor chords are typical chords you would know, but there's a world of other chords that, we use that will kind of be an in-between happy and sad, or a chord for, chords that are magical, or orchestration that if something explodes could explode with it. So there's a world of harmony and orchestration that will help you to do this. But first of all, you have to understand, what is the energy? How am I going to transition? So right now they stopped running.
Oh, yeah, well, it looks like I'm not the only one.
So notice we have a wipe. A lot of times, pay attention to what the director is doing. In this case, they had a swipe to them. And so that's why I had a run up that hit on them.
Like I'm not the only one.
City life really is fast paced.
We gotta get out of here before they call for.
And notice this kind of again, we're having a transition to where our running of the bulls will come in. And this transition, I don't want to just go right on when the bulls come. So I write into the next section. A lot of times that's a musical pickup, or maybe, it's some kind of percussion swell. But in this case, I use trombone chords or.
We gotta get out of here before they call for.
All right, so you notice the use of what we call onomatopoeia, which would be, it's kind of a literal translation of the music. I use the kind of the siren sound with the trombones going da 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 da. And then what you'll also notice is we use a comical device, making the bowls out of China and making them into what it would sound like in Spain using the Phrygian mode. So we kind of get this sense of the Spanish bowls, you know.
That's a lot of bull.
All right, and then we needed a change here on them starting to run, which was even faster. So we picked up the tempo. All right, so now let's look. The other thing you're going to need here, right? You're going to need a tempo track. So let's go through all these. I have 2 marker tracks or more, depending on what notes I need to make. And this is something you would talk with a director when you spot it. Spotting is deciding where the music comes in and out, you know. But this is what I call micro spotting. So we're making really, really detailed notes on the score. And so we can change the tempo, and notice I jumped here. The tempo jumped up when they started to run. Right? So that's really important. Tempo plays such a big role. Also, we have time signature. So right now we're just in 4/4, but you need to have this track, your time signature track, okay? Very important. The other thing I have which is unique to Cubase, which I love, so is a chord track. So if you add a chord track and you mute it, it's really important you mute it, or it will actually make chords. But we use this, or I use this. I think it's a really powerful feature in Cubase, where I can it'll just add an X here. If you double click on it, and let's say my chord was a D minor 7 here, I can put that chord up there to remind myself of what chords that I'm going to. Because what happens when you get fixes, when they look at this and go, oh, can you change this? Can you change this? And you don't have a lot of time, you have to go back and remember what the chords were, right? And so these chord tracks can really help you. When you have to go back, like even in a movie, you know, you could have an hour to hour and 20 of music. And so you can't remember what you wrote, you know, a month ago. These chord tracks, just putting the chord symbols up there, will go, okay, I don't have to relearn the music at this point. At least I can know the chordal values so I can make my changes for the director, okay? All right, so keep continuing on. We had this high energy escape, right? And the reason I did this horn rip, I wanted a clumsy sound, and register is really important. So like the low brass, Poe is kind of this chubby guy, and so I wanted that French horn rip as opposed to a string rip or a flute rip. And notice before that, we also get the sense of the Fox's sound, which was the xylophone again. Also, harp glisses are really great transitions as well. And then notice I wanted to address this clumsy moment.
Let's go.
Now we're back to the bull theme, right? And notice we wrote into that transition. So we had a roll, and we had a rip. So we stopped, we used comedy, and this is where I stopped as far as our lesson here. We have a program called the Inner Circle, which is a monthly composer meetup where we get a new scene. This was one of the scenes we did this month. We scored the Kung Fu Panda. And so kind of figuring out what works from moment to moment. And again, constant evaluation of what's going on. So I'm going to stop it there, give you a sense of what we do. But all of this can be learned, but you have to practice setting up the scene before you even start. And I'm telling you, if you put the markers and you add the emotions, then you can decide what level of energy, what level of speed, and you can use classic orchestration and harmony to address what's going on. And what happens there is that you won't be missing things, and at least you'll be hitting the things right. Your orchestration when you start out might not be great. That's okay. But at least you'll be hitting those moments properly. And then you can grow in your orchestration skills, your understanding of harmony and what works and what chords work and what chords work on different emotions. All right, so hopefully this video was helpful. It was super fun to make, and I hope it's helped you kind of understand how to transition from moment to moment and all the prep that needs to be done before you even get into writing music. And if you're interested in film scoring, I would love to talk with you. We have a 5-month academy at scorecraftacademy.com. We work with you for 5 months on your orchestration, your MIDI mockups, sound libraries, trailer music, video game music, and the business of scoring, getting you ready for a career in film and TV music. Hit the like and subscribe button and leave any comments you have below. I would love to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next video.